Hello, I'm here to talk to you today about how every single child deserves to play. According to a study, 1 in 4 individuals have different sensory needs or another invisible disability. Often, as humans, when we think of the term disability, we look for things that we can see with our eyes, such as a person who may be blind, deaf, use a wheelchair, or walker. However, there are many disabilities that you cannot see with your eyes. These are maybe be called invisible disabilities. They may look like people with autism or sensory issues, and these people are just as deserving of their accommodations as those with the disabilities we can see. I am here today because as a first grade teacher at a low income elementary school in America, I see the inequalities that these children face, especially in the general education classroom, the cafeteria, the playground, and the lunchroom. Our community needs a disabled and sensory friendly learning play center. And I hope after I discuss this with you today that you'll also see this need and you'll want to invest in this change for these children. Today, I will discuss how most public spaces in our community are not sensory friendly. Second, how disabled and neurodiverse children need a safe environment to call their own. And lastly, I will discuss how such a place will enhance these children's development. Now that I laid out our groundwork, which is our community needs a disabled and sensory friendly play and learning center, let me start with my first point, which is most public spaces in our community are not sensory friendly. According to an ABA center known as the Bridge Care, often public spaces can present unique challenges for individuals with the autism spectrum disorder. It's important that we understand these challenges and implement the appropriate accommodations. It is crucial for this to create an inclusive environment. These environments are centered and catered to neurotypical individuals. So knowing the accommodations that these neurodivergent people need will help it create a more inclusive, accommodating environment. Additionally, Autism Speaks goes to more in depth of how certain sounds, smells, and textures and tastes can be extremely overwhelming for those with sensory issues or autism. This may lead to sensory overload, which will lead to avoidance of these places. This is unequal and not inclusive because they deserve to access the mall, Target, and all these different places just as much as the neurotypical person. Additionally, the staff at these places are most often not educated on autism or sensory-related issues. This may look like judgment, stares, or even being kicked out of some places. And this also doesn't just come from the staff, but from the customers as well. At a place that I hope to open, I will prioritize training our staff about autism awareness, how to communicate with these individuals of all different types of autism on the spectrum, how their sensory sensitivities might present, as well as behavior management. Which brings me to my next point. Disabled and neurodiverse children need a safe environment to call their own. There are many benefits of having an autism-friendly space. In an autism-friendly space, they will have increased participation and engagement. This is due to the reduced sensory overload. They will be able to participate in activities without feeling emotionally overwhelmed. This will increase accessibility, enhance social interactions, and have a more positive experience for the child, but also for their families. The child is not the only one being frustrated by these experiences. Their families feel their pain and want their child to be included in these environments as well. With a place like this, the families can come together and be able to participate. A neurodivergent place in an exclusively neurotypical world can be extremely valuable. A sensory-friendly play and learning center will be made for disabled children and those with sensory issues. Many places, such as trampoline parks or gymborees, are made in mind of catering to the neurotypical child. This facility will be made in mind for the neurodivergent child. Virginia Spielman, who has a PhD on the studies of autism, discussed how with America there's a common belief that there is only one way to be human. And instead of helping these humans who are different from us belong, we ask them to adapt to our world and hope that one day they will belong. That is not our job as people who are neurotypical. Our job is to accommodate and welcome these neurodivergent individuals just as they are. Having a place like this will pave the way for educating neurotypical individuals. I think inclusivity and equality are often used interchangeably, but they are not the same thing. Equality refers to neurodivergent individuals be able to enter places just as much as a neurotypical person. However, that does not guarantee that their accommodations are being met. When a place is inclusive, a neurodivergent child is able to navigate that facility with the accommodations they need. By creating and advocating for more sensory sensitivity environments, this will help change makers and create a world that is more inclusive for everyone. There will be and in this facility, I would love to have classes for our educators in the school on how to adapt to neurodivergent children's needs. Additionally, I would have opportunities for neurotypical and neurodivergent children to play together in a sensory-friendly environment. So often, neurodivergent children are expected to play with neurotypical children in a neurotypical environment. It is very rare that a neurotypical child is expected to play with a neurodivergent child in a neurodivergent accepting environment. Furthermore, I would love to have outreach to schools and other businesses on how to be more inclusive to these individuals. And lastly, I believe that this will be a great place for families with children with these disabilities where they can meet, connect, and share their stories and find hope in each other. This brings me to my last point, which is a place like this will enhance neurodivergent children's development. According to Autism Toolbox, a place like this will help foster group play. This will be done by increasing communication skills in verbal and nonverbal children. They will use textured objects and other sensory-related games such as bubbles or blocks, and will help children explore and learn how to share and take turns and learn their likes and dislikes. Sensory games may include things like trampolines, kinetic sand, swings, painting, and much more. These will help with fine and gross motor skills that some of these children may be lacking. Additionally, as I discussed earlier, when it comes to fostering group play, it will naturally help foster communication skills. Sensory games encourage children to play together. When children get to play together, they will be more likely to talk to each other and engage with one another. So often, children with autism may play independently because it is sensory overwhelming to play with a group of kids. However, when they are in a neurodivergent sensory sensitivity environment, they will be more likely to engage with each other, which will increase communication skills. Many times, these children may be left out at school because they are not like their neurotypical peers. But here, they see other children just like them and they feel like they belong. In conclusion, there is no place in our community that they can call their own. It is crucial that neurodivergent children needs are met and so that they can play with their neurotypical peers in a way that's accommodating to them and not fitting to the narrative of a neurotypical world. Our community needs a disabled and sensory-friendly play center and learning center. Today I discussed with you how most public spaces are not sensory-friendly. I also discussed how disabled and neurodivergent children need a safe environment to call their own. Lastly, I also discussed how such a place will enhance these children's development. Our community needs a disabled and sensory-friendly play and learning center. It is essential to these children's lives and success. Earlier, I mentioned how 1 in 4 children or individuals have a sensory-related issue. I also discussed how not all disabilities are visible. Those with invisible disabilities are often forgotten and pushed aside and seen as less than or faking their disability. It may be seen as misbehavior or being spoiled, but in reality, they're experiencing emotional overload because of the sensory issues they are experiencing, and their needs and accommodations are not being met. I leave you with this. You would not ask a person who's quadriplegic to walk up a flight of stairs. So why would you expect a child with autism to enter a bright, loud, crowded area without having their accommodations and expecting them not to have an emotional overload and autism meltdown? As a first grade teacher, one student comes to mind that I had last year. This student who has autism often sat in the grass during recess with his headphones on his head while all the other children screamed, laughed, ran around. They got to slide down the slides, play with their friends, and play on the swings. This child just picked at the grass because the noise and stimulation was too overwhelming for him. Often I sat beside him as he played with blocks while every other child got to play on the playground. This child deserves a play environment just like his neurotypical peers that fits his needs. Will you be a part of the change that these children need and be the voice for the voiceless like this child? They need you. Thank you.